Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Livin The Dream podcast, both video and audio form. I'm Rishi Barran. I've been a course director at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting for about 4 years now. And one of the highlights of that is getting to meet people who are going after their dreams and try to accomplish them. And that's what the key to this video podcast and audio podcast is. We want to bring in our graduates who are succeeding at a high level in this industry and let them share their stories, where their dreams started, what it's like living the dream now, and what their future dreams are. And man, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. Tyler Boronski is with us today. Tyler, how is life in Beantown?
Beantown is great, Rishi. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Actually, right now it's snowing like crazy here in Boston, and 2 days ago it was like 64 degrees randomly. So I was taking a walk a couple days ago. Now I'm kind of stuck in my house for today, but yeah, not too bad here in Boston.
Good. Well, you always have enthusiasm, whether it's raining or snowing or sleeting or 2 degrees or 92 degrees. You always have that big smile on your face. And that's one reason it's just so great to have you on today, and always any chance I get to catch up with you. And you have an extensive resume, so I'm going to look and read this to make sure I have it. I'm going to point out kind of the key stuff, and you can fill in any blanks, but you've been at NESN since 2020, an assistant content producer, and that includes wearing a number of different hats. We'll get into that over the course of our conversation. You've also been doing stuff on your YouTube channel as a freelance entertainment reporter for a long time. And in addition to that, you produce content for YouTube channels for numerous celebrities. And I know that has been quite an eye-opening experience for you too. And what I really love today, Tyler, is we have some breaking news. You have a new gig that you just started on top of all that. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, so I just started as a freelance on-air host and reporter for a Boston lifestyle TV show called Dirty Water TV. It's ironically on NESN, 11:30s on Saturdays and Sundays. So I would kind of just go around different bars and restaurants in Boston, some pop-up events, just kind of have a good time and hang out. But that's definitely the latest thing. I just did my first shoot for it last night. So we're just gonna get that going and keep exploring Boston and doing some stuff on air there with them.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And we're going to get into all of that in a minute. And Tyler was also a member of our first graduating class from the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. I was joking with him that he's become kind of a legend among our current and alumni.
That's a stretch.
Well, but it's true, because you were a pioneer in a lot of ways in helping us start what we do. We wouldn't be where we are now today, Tyler, if we didn't have you and the groups early on that set this foundation. So that's a big deal. But before we get into all that, let's start at the beginning. And Tyler and I were talking before we started recording how it's going to be tough getting this into about an hour window, because he's just done so much before Full Sail, during Full Sail, and after Full Sail. But let's start with the beginning. You're living your dream now. Where did the dream start for you?
The dream started for me in Bridgeport, Connecticut, very small town in Connecticut. Really, how I wanted to get into this industry, and kind of like a lot of students, I imagine, just watching ESPN and MLB Network channels like that, and seeing the reporters out on the field, just being like, wow, that's so cool. Obviously, I love going to baseball games, basketball games. So that's kind of where a lot of the inspiration came from. And another part of it too was I was a big autograph collector when I was younger. I used to love going to games and just meeting players, and I love having that that quick interaction with the player. And then once I grew up near this minor league baseball team, this ballpark, and started knowing some of the players after a while, getting their autographs. I was like, no, maybe I can try and interview one of them, just like the ESPN guys do or MLB Network guys. And finally got that first interview with my buddy, Luis Lopez. He played with the Toronto Blue Jays for a little bit. And that conversation, even though it's terrible, it's online, it's really bad if you look back at it now. But I just remember I had 5 or so minutes with him to chat. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. To have this one-on-one time, talk with a player. This is that autograph experience times 100 when you get that interaction with the player. So to just be able to ask him anything I want, to hear any stories he has about his really cool life, that really kind of got me going, and just want to do it for, as often as I possibly could. So just started doing stuff in that league, the Atlantic League, for a while, and really just lived at the ballpark any moment I could when I was done with my classes in high school. Even sometimes left school early to like go drive to different ballparks in Connecticut or New York, sometimes New Jersey, even a few times Pennsylvania I would go to. So just did that in high school and was just always at ballparks, interviewing players, getting to know players, stuff like that.
It was interesting. Early on, we had a conversation, and I was talking about some of the places I'd worked, and I'd worked in the Harrisburg, Lancaster market, and you knew the league so well around there, and having that conversation, like, wow, did he really drive that far to come and do his work? What were those trips like?
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, those I would do on like weekends, the Pennsylvania ones. But yeah, I would go like Lancaster and York because they had two teams nearby each other, and just like stay at a hotel nearby. And yeah, that's kind of, and then drive back like really late Sunday night, and get back to Connecticut because I have school the next morning. So that one was more like a weekend ones, but like I would do like New Britain often, like that during the week, and that was like an hour from where I was at in Connecticut. I've been Long Island before, and then Somerset, New Jersey, and that was like 2.5 hours. And that one I would do too, like sometimes during the week. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're just kind of crazy. You're just crazy, and then like you do that game, you come home and you do your whatever homework you didn't do, and you pretty much don't sleep, and then you just kind of wake up and go to school the next day.
When did you realize that this could be more than just a hobby, but something that you could actually commit your life doing for a profession?
Probably like once it was like junior year or senior year of high school, when you have to start thinking about like what do you want to do in college, like think about a degree. And I just knew how much I loved doing this. And once I realized like, oh, I could actually like pursue this for real. Like I want to look at all avenues to pursue that. So try to look for any school in the country with like a sports media type of degree. Actually, Full Sail did not have that the sportscasting program yet. So I can't even say it was like, oh, then I discovered Full Sail. I had known about Full Sail as a school for a while just because of their reputation in the entertainment industry. But yeah, they didn't have the sportscasting program yet. So but when I took a behind the scenes tour there just to actually shadow the sports marketing program, I ran into Gary Jones, the president at Full Sail, and he had told me they were going to start a sportscasting program because I told him like what my ambitions were. And he's like, it's going to happen probably the time you're at Full Sail. So that really got me thinking like, okay, maybe I can start in the sports marketing program knowing I'll transfer over to the sportscasting program whenever they started. I mean, that sounded like the most ideal, something on camera. A lot of the other schools I looked at were more, I mean, some were like TV, like back in like the Syracuse's of the world, and was some school in Arizona, I can't remember the name right now, Walter Cronkite program. Yeah, that's a Walter Cronkite program. But a lot of them were like journalism, so I wanted something more like TV or on camera focus. But yeah, once Gary told me that like it was gonna happen, probably when I was gonna go, I would go to Full Sail. I was like, okay, I'll go to Full Sail. I'll do the sports marketing program, and then wait till they start the sportscasting program. And it wasn't until like I was actually at Full Sail was when I found it was going to be called the Dan Patrick School Sportscasting Program, and that just added more like craziness since I've known Dan since I was a little kid because his daughter and I went to the same small private school in Connecticut where there's like 30 kids in the class, Molly. So I've known her forever. I've been to the house before. So it was just like really crazy how things align where it was like, this is going to be the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting at the school I'm attending. So yeah, I mean, it just worked out. Everything worked out in that sense.
It's such a cool connection, especially since you were part of the first class that you actually had a personal connection with Dan and his family. Any conversations with either of them, Molly or Dan, about the fact that, hey, I'm considering joining your school?
Yeah, well, I just remember the first time I saw him, I was doing like that promo, the commercial for the program. That was the first time I saw him again. And it was just different because like my conversations with him are different than a lot of the other kids. Because first all the other kids, they look up to him, or like the people for that commercial, everyone looks up to Dan. And I do too, obviously, but it's like I can talk to him about like random people in Connecticut, like that only him and I would know, like with Christian Heritage, that's the school. So like we can just talk about like people from that school, which is just so different in that sense. So yeah, that was really the biggest thing, that type of connection. But I mean, I think it's cool for him too, like to have someone that's, you know, local to the area he's living in Connecticut, like just have that personal connection with one of his first graduates. Like I'm sure that's pretty neat for him too. So yeah, it was special.
We're talking with Tyler Boronski, assistant content producer for NESN, which is in New England. If anyone is a big Boston sports fan or anything in that area, that is the hub for that on television. But we talked about this earlier, Tyler. In addition to that job, content creation is something that you've been a big part of for yourself, and not just when you started professionally working in this industry. You've been doing it for a long time. How did that all start for you? You talked about minor league baseball, but how did you actually turn that into something?
Yeah, I mean, I just needed a place to post these interviews. That's where I figured. So I was like, okay, I'll start a YouTube channel. Like, actually, I always remember my friends like in I guess it's middle school, but like having like YouTube channels. I was like, oh, that I always want to, have a YouTube channel like them. And, I watched YouTubers growing up. So, but I just need a platform to post these interviews. So that's kind of really where I started making content. You know, so just like I said, kept doing that and kept loving it, kept loving the platform of YouTube and really trying to understand the social media space. And definitely more when I got to Florida at Full Sail and, even after graduating Full Sail, like working in like a space that was strictly just social media and learning the platforms. That's kind of where I learned more, I would say, about like content creation, that industry. But as far as just like how I got into it, it's just, I really just needed a place. I want to post these interviews somewhere. Like I want not just myself to watch these interviews like on my iPad, because at first I was just using like an iPad for these interviews. But yeah, I just needed a place to post them. So YouTube was the best route. And then, start getting some attention from that. Obviously, a league like the Atlantic League, there's not really too much coverage. So it was pretty easy to kind of make a name for yourself in that league. And, you go to different ballparks, people like kind of know who you are. And especially that was important too with trying to get credentials from the other teams in the league. And because, I was really just trying to convince them to give like a random kid with a YouTube channel like credentials. But once they started seeing like, okay, I'm not saying myself was good back then. Now that I look back at it, but like it probably wasn't like the worst worst thing. It was like, okay, it's decent enough. It helps. It helps at the end of the day. It's not hurting us to have him come interview our players. Then I think that helped build my reputation in that league and just make me want to create more content in minor league baseball.
And one thing I love that you said is you came to Full Sail, you had some experience, but then you took all of the things you learned and applied it to what you were creating and made it better and made it more professional. And you're a great example of what it means to do more than the minimum at Full Sail. Not only did you put everything you had into your classwork, you did a ton of extracurricular activities in addition to your content creation. I'm sure that was a lot on your plate at that time. What was it like going through the program while doing so many other things to complement what you learned in class?
Well, I just kind of knew in my head going into Full Sail, like, that you have a finite amount of time. You got 20 months in the program. Like, this is the time to work on your craft. This is why I moved to Florida, to literally learn this industry. Because as great as all that minor league baseball stuff was, and it was great experience, dealing with players at an early age and dealing with like adults and like PR staffs and all that, like I didn't actually know what I was doing. I really didn't. And from like all aspects, being like an on-camera person, anything technically, like I really didn't know anything technically. Like I've told you before, Rishi, I had no clue how to edit until I got to Full Sail. Full Sail was like literally my introduction to how to edit. So I was just going in there with an open mind, that this is my time to, if I want to pursue this industry for real, like this is the time to do it. So that I was just really hyper focused kind of on that. And that's why I was just willing to do, obviously do my best I could at Full Sail and soak in as much as I learned from you guys. And then also just seeing how much opportunity there was in Florida too, like compared to where I was in Connecticut and Bridgeport, like there's really not that much going on, where like Florida, Orlando, much bigger market from that sense, and from all aspects, sports. And then obviously got introduced to the entertainment side too, with some of the events and conventions they got there, but just a whole new world. So I was like, I would regret it if like I didn't try to go as hard as possible, because that's literally why I moved down there, to take advantage of, my time there.
And you were part of something new. I had a conversation with Jeff Schetzel and Mark Condren today about how cool it was for us to see the program basically from a concept where classes weren't even invented yet, people weren't even hired yet, to what it is now. From your perspective, being in the first graduating class, What did you see as some of the benefits and challenges of kind of taking each class for the first time before it had been tweaked at all?
As far as challenges goes, I mean, just the fact like everything was just so new to me. Like I really didn't understand how TV worked, what it took to be like a good on-camera personality. Like I already said, all the technical stuff behind the scenes. So just everything was so new to me. That was a little intimidating. And then honestly, I wasn't even really too confident in my like sports knowledge. I mean, besides baseball, like I really didn't feel too confident in my sports knowledge and the other like other sports, football, basketball, hockey, which I'm definitely learning now. I learn hockey now being a NESN because that's a big thing here. So, it's just like it kind of intimidating from that standpoint. You never know how the other students would be, but the students obviously were great, but you just, everything's so new. So that's like the most challenging thing. It's just like, trying to understand the concepts and do your best. But the great thing that you guys did is like, you made it like a low stress environment. Like you make it a easy environment to make mistakes because that's what we're there to do. We're there to make mistakes and learn through those growing pains and make the progress. So it was just, I really credit you guys. I mean, for creating just such a great environment to learn in that sense. But that was definitely the most challenging thing. Just like everything's so new. I'm not from this area. Like my whole world's opening up, but it was a special time.
Take us behind the scenes. I'd love to hear a story about, you and the first five, if you will, the first graduating class. Tell us something that we don't know about maybe the behind the scenes of what it was like going through the process as a student, as part of that group.
Behind the scenes of being a student,
like us as instructors, we wouldn't know this. This is just conversations among the students that we have no idea this is going on. Do you have any good stories like that?
Man, kind of put me on spot for that. I mean,
I know.
I think most people might know is like my roommate in college was Taylor Schaub, who was also one of the first graduates for the program and is working in California now as a sports director. So I just always remember me and him like, oh, really? I was driving to school too, just saying. So like we always have conversations kind of, to school and coming back from school just about kind of our goals and like that. That's why I like seeing him at the Super Bowl. Last week, or when was Super Bowl? Last week or 2 weeks? I can't remember. I don't know the timeline.
You're so busy, yeah.
I know. But I do remember like talking about like something like the Super Bowl. Like that was like our dream goal. Like literally having discussions about that. So to see him like actually there, like we talked, we were on the phone and like this is something we dreamed to do. Like, just literally 2 years ago, 2 years ago. It really wasn't that long ago. And then me doing some Zoom stuff with some of the players. So it's just like conversations like that, like especially like just me and Taylor, like knowing we both have like really like high aspirations of like some of the stuff we want to do in this industry. We're both kind of young, eager, like same age. So like, we want to cover the Super Bowls. We want to be at the NBA finals, the World Series one day. So just to see him check that off, that was special to see. So it's conversation like that I always remember having. It's like, wow, this is why podcasts like this are great. It's like my chance to reflect, but it's like, wow, shoot, like we actually did some of those things already. And so we're kind of just getting going too.
Yeah, and that's what this program is all about. It's having a goal, having a dream, and going after it. And wow, you guys are less than 2 years out, and wow, we've already done these things, right? So that's just fantastic, and you've got so much time left to go. I know you took a lot out of the program. What would you highlight as being the most important takeaways you got from your time at Full Sail?
Just one thing, the reps is a big deal. Like you guys give us a lot of reps on both sides. I mean, obviously on camera, which is, what a lot of the students go there to pursue at first. But on the producing side as well, obviously for your class, you're doing all aspects. You're the one producing the show, writing the scripts, cutting up the video, and then obviously the one performing as well. And then, having your meetings with the director beforehand, how you want your show to look. So it's just learning all aspects of it and being really hands-on. That's why, obviously something like NESN's a little more advanced than the Full Sail shows, but it wasn't too intimidating in that standpoint too. I just felt really prepared. So if I didn't have those reps, I would say, I probably wouldn't feel as comfortable as I do, what I'm doing now at NESN and being able to adjust to NESN right away. That was I just felt really comfortable right away because of the skill set I learned from you guys. So I'd say the reps is the biggest thing. Obviously having access like to you guys that are in the industry, like have been in the industry for a while, but like some of you guys that are still in the industry, like I know I was talking to Mark Condren, like I know he just went to like Tokyo to do some shoots. Like that's pretty unique in that standpoint that you guys are still in the industry doing the things that, yeah, as students you want to do eventually. So like you guys just have a lot of connections. So that's definitely a big takeaway too. But I'd say, yeah, the reps is the biggest thing that is, I think is the most important, and got a lot out of that.
Well, you deserve so much credit for your success, and I appreciate you giving us some props too. But two other people I want to throw in there are your parents. And one of my favorite things about doing this is on graduation day when we get to meet parents. And for your class, since it was the first class, we had a little bit of a reception afterward. And I will never forget my conversations with them and how much I enjoyed it. How much did they drive you to where you are today?
Well, I always appreciate them because this is obviously a very non-traditional type of career path to take. And someone like my mom, for example, she doesn't know anything about sports. That's why it doesn't matter if I talk to Kevin Durant or I talk to a high school basketball player. It's the same person to her. She really could care less. So, but for them, like really early on too, to be, yeah, just never really question like my desires, like my passion to pursue this. It's just like, I owe them like a lot from that standpoint. So yeah, it's special. Yeah, so like that was the biggest thing. It's like they were always very supportive and like really just never questioned me pursuing this stuff. And like I mean, even in a sense, like doing my YouTube stuff in minor league baseball, it wasn't like I was getting paid to do that. I was just doing that on my own. Like, but they never really like, I mean, I did work like summer jobs, but like I don't know, just never like harped me too hard that I'm spending so much time at these minor league ballparks making YouTube videos that aren't making any money. Like it's just like they're just always been great, really supportive. And it was cool last night because they're in Florida right now, but we FaceTime after I did the dirty water thing, and that was like a big moment because like I've been trying to get something like an on-air gig for a while now. Even though it's like freelance, it's like definitely a step in the right direction. So that was like kind of cool to have a phone conversation with them yesterday, and like my dad like kind of celebrating, and I was like hyped up too. I'm like, let's go. Like been waiting for something like this to happen. So finally make my TV debut somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just, they're always been really supportive. And like I said, they never questioned this career path and have always helped me out as best as they could. And even also in the tough times too, when like after I graduated Full Sail and I didn't have the a full-time gig lined up right away. And then with NESN, when I did get the NESN job, it got delayed for a while. So that really extended it. But just trying to help me throughout that process of, what direction I could take. Obviously, like, but I was doing some stuff like social media creators, like on a part-time basis. So we're trying to figure out how can I maybe make that like a full-time gig, or, just find other ways in with other companies maybe. So they've just been great from that standpoint, just helping me all throughout this journey, the highs and the lows.
I remember you and your mom talking about your game plan and how you were going to attack post-graduation and schedule time to do it. And it's paid off. But I know that it was hard, all those things you just mentioned, having a job, not knowing if you could do it based on what was going on with baseball at the time, COVID and all of that. But you stuck it out and now you're flying. What advice do you have for graduates who may go through what you did, where you had to be really patient waiting for your opportunity and suffered some setbacks along the way?
Yeah, that's definitely the hardest part. That was because I don't know, your whole life. I mean, I know some students in the program, they're older and more experienced, but like I'm sure there's a lot of kids that went straight from high school to college to your guys' program, and then straight from college. So you have this timeline your whole life, and then like once you graduate, it's just like, okay, you enter the real world, and there's no timeline anymore for when something's supposed to happen. So you really just can't predict things. But I would say, like, for me, and my mom gave me this advice, but just like when I didn't have like a job, like I still had to treat my Monday through Friday, like be proactive, like treat it like as if I have a job. So whether, that means like reaching out to companies, whether that's, or contact and stuff like that, whatever I need to do, whether it's just practicing my skill set, like I have to still keep myself sharp and keep myself proactive, because it's really easy probably to just like sit back and play video games or watch Netflix or something, just like do nothing when during that time and be like, oh, something's gonna happen. But like, no, you have to be the one that like to go get it. Like, I don't know, you just can't necessarily wait for the opportunities to happen. Like, you do your best to try and make things happen. So that's that was a big piece of advice. But I mean, that's definitely the hardest thing. Like, you just stay ready, and then you never know when your time's gonna come. Obviously, even something like now, like even though I work at NESN and we've talked about maybe more behind the scenes, like I've been wanting to do something on air, and then finally got this dirty water thing, and like that's been a long time in the making. And it's February 2022. I graduated from the program October 2019. Like, I've been waiting for something like a dirty water since I graduated. So like, but like I felt good yesterday too, because I felt prepared, because I try to keep my skill set sharp. But like that's what you kind of do. You just, when you're in the unknown stage, like you just do what you can to be ready for when that moment happens, and try to do yourself to make these opportunities happen for yourself.
And now you are the co-host of Dirty Water TV. What's it like to be living the dream right now?
It's great. It's great. Like we were saying before this podcast started, but like you sometimes don't realize some of the stuff you're doing in the moment, because everything's just happening so quickly and it's just like nonstop. But yeah, it's a chance to do like podcasts like this where you get a chance to reflect, or someone messages you like, wow, I love that you talked to this person, or saw you on this, or I heard, like, actually a cool one was I when it was Patriots season, I talked to Belichick, and my brother, who's not into sports, but he got a random message from his coworker saying he was listening to like TV, on TV, and he heard my question for Bill Belichick, and he heard the name, like, oh, Tyler Boronski from NESN, from the PR guy, question for Bill Belichick, and then heard my question and Bill's answer, and he's like, and then he messaged my brother, and I was like, man, that was really surreal too. It was like, okay, that's neat. That's neat to get moments like that. And then you're like, wow, okay, shoot, I did just like talk to Bill Belichick, and people are actually listening and like hearing this stuff. So,
so
it's really special. What's that?
To me, watching your question, you had posted something on social media, your question to Bill Belichick, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the longest answer I've ever heard Bill Belichick give. He was very respectful of you, which is not necessarily a consistent thing with him. He gave you a very thoughtful answer, and you must have been doing something right, because that's a big part of it, regardless of how you ask the question. Obviously, you learned a lot about that with Mike Tuck, but both asking the question and your demeanor and your credibility professionally, those are all important in getting people to open up to you. And I know that you've interviewed a lot of your heroes and people you look up to through these Zoom interviews. How did that all start for you, that NESN gave you that opportunity to do all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was one of the first things, like literally when I first started there, I said I want the opportunity to contribute in that way. Luckily, my boss is like the Red Sox producer for pre and post game show at NESN. So obviously anything Red Sox related kind of goes through him, which he knows my aspirations. He knew my background, and he was just willing to let me contribute in that way. So I'm always going to owe him for letting me be able to be a part of these Zooms, because he really did not need to let me do that. Even though it is on my own time, it's like, he didn't have to let me contribute in that way. So yeah, and then once you give me the access, of course I'm just gonna keep going. So like I'm in those calls every single day, and I try to ask questions, and I always try to think of something to ask, even if like maybe it's not the greatest thing, but like I always want to ask something. So that's why I find those Zooms important for me too, just where I am in my career, because I know that that's the one thing, at least for me right now, not being an on-air person at NESN, like that is my one like thing that goes public, that other people see, and other reporters and media people are on those calls. So if they like how I ask the questions, that's my way to get my name out there. So that's why I also find it like important from that standpoint too. Not just, it is fun. It is really fun. And like, I am living out my moments, but like from a career standpoint, kind of get my name out from doing those Zooms. But yeah, I kind of just got going from there. And like you said, to answer your other question too, like living the dream, that is like a really special part about being here in Boston too, because I did grow up like a Boston sports fan. So the irony that like I am in this market and really just rooting for these guys a couple of years ago, that is actually insane to me now that I think about it. It's like, because at this point I've talked to like every dude on the Red Sox several times, all the Celtics guys, a good amount of the Patriots dudes. Like You're right. Like a lot of my heroes, I've kind of been able to check off, which is just like insane. Now that you put it that way, so
And
yeah, that's kind of how it got going, though.
you also work with them. I remember you
Yeah.
talking about, second day on the job, I ran into Jim Rice in the hallway. How do you, some people have trouble with this. I don't think you do, but how do you separate oh my God, this is Jim Rice. Oh my God, this is Big Papi, from doing the job that you're supposed to do every day?
Because that's what it is. Like you have a job to do. And then especially in this industry, it's like very high pace. And it's like, it's even more so like if you're like out at like the game or like an event. Like I always remember, I know I will tie back in sports, but like when I'm doing the social media conventions, I always remember like having to try and find the talent for that. And it's like, you just don't have time to think. Like if you want to get the interview, like you have to be the one to go get them and get that job. Like that's why you're there. And it's the same way in sports too. A little easier in the sports setting actually than entertainment. But so that's how I kind of look at it. It's like at the end of the day, you're the professional. Like if you need to get content from like a player or like a soundbite, like that's your job to do. So like I am able to block out in that sense, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it either. Like afterwards, I'm like the most hyped up person because I'm like, oh shoot, I did just talk to like David Ortiz or Chris Sale or Xander Bogaerts. Like I am really hyped up and like I am enjoying the moment, but like I also, I think honestly just from doing it from all the years in minor league baseball, because in the Atlantic League there was like a lot of players that like I did look up to that were actually in that league too. Like I remember my first interviews like Dontrell Willis. Like Dontrell Willis was like a big name player back in the day. He had a signature shoe. Like I know who Dontrell Willis is. So like I got introduced to like being around like players that I looked up to really early. Not to the standpoint, like obviously these Red Sox players is a different level, but yeah, it's just like that's being a professional at the end of the day. Like if you got a job to do, like that's the most important thing. You got to get that job done. You got to get that soundbite. You got to get that piece of content from them. And then, get excited afterwards.
Tell you what, it was really nice to have Dontrell Willis on my fantasy team back in his early Marlins days. That was special as well.
Very good, yeah. Oh, those 03 Marlins, man.
Yeah, man. The sideways hat, everything.
Absolutely.
Well, you've been at NESN for a couple of years now, and I love how many opportunities that they have given you behind the scenes, but also to move forward toward your on-air goals as well. But what's a typical day like for you in terms of what you actually do there?
Yeah, I'd say more lately, which is good. It's been more like editing stuff for our new shows or like our Bruins pre and post game show. I'll do some Red Sox if the season gets going. So a lot of editing, a lot of like script writing too with the talent. So that's what I like about it lately. It's more like on the producing side, where my first year there was more like production oriented things, very like operational tasks, very just things people got to do it, the mundane task, but someone's got to do it, the logging, stuff like that, prompting. But now I feel more involved with the content, being more involved with the team. So yeah, that's kind of like one of my days lately, just like editing, script writing with the talent, like I write the interviews for them and VOs, highlights, write the shot sheets and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what my days look like. It's more second shift. Starting like 3 well, we have a production meeting at 2:00. I do that from here at home, and then 3:00 go to the office, and then it just depends if it's like a game night. If it's a game night, then you're there for like a real long time because we have the new shows after the games and the Bruins post-game show. We do the night show, and then we do like a morning show that we pre-tape. So sometimes you're there till like 1 a.m. or a little later than that. I've definitely been there till like 3 a.m. before when it was like really crazy how our schedule was, but yeah, it's usually like in the like 1 a.m. range, like 3 to 1. So that's been my days lately. And then, somehow fit the media stuff. I do the one like production thing I still do a lot of is like running the score bug for like the Bruins and Red Sox games. Not every game. Red Sox I did a good amount. And that's also how I got to Fenway too. I wasn't at Fenway just like from a media reporter standpoint. I was there actually doing my production stuff. And then I would not take my dinner break and basically go like assist our sideline reporter, Jemai Webster. And for that hour or so, that's when I was on the field helping him out. And that would be me. Like if he had to go like do like a Red Sox Foundation interview, he'd be like, I want to ask Xander something. Like, can you go talk to Xander real quick? I'll be like, yeah. So that's what I would do that. in-person stuff for him, and or like a player on the other team, like go chat with them. So yeah, that's my responsibilities right now with them lately.
Well, this is the Livin The Dream podcast. We have with us Tyler Boronski, who is an assistant content producer at NESN in Massachusetts, along with many other responsibilities. And speaking of responsibilities, Tyler, they've given you at NESN more and more responsibilities as time has gone on. To me, that shows me that they trust you to do things right. What did you do to build their trust?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I just feel like I'm been able to learn things quickly. Definitely, if I do make a mistake, I never make the same mistake twice. So I feel like I adjust pretty well. And especially in like obviously live TV, that's like a whole different beast. Like doing just doing stuff where, you know, like if you make a mistake, like it's going on air. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've been a reliable worker for them. Like I work hard. Like I think people see me there. Like I'm kind of just always like moving and running around the building, and you know, just like obviously like I try to be nice, and like I obviously say hi to everyone, but like I am pretty like hyper focused there because I feel like they have given me a lot more responsibilities lately than when I first started off. Like I definitely feel like a vital part about of the team and the content there, which is great, but you know, adds to the workload. But I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like I don't feel like people need to like worry about me, which is probably why they give me more things to do. So I build that trust in that sense. But there's not really much of training. There wasn't much of a training curve with me. Like I said, that's why I credit you guys. Like I felt prepared. So it was easy to throw. It's easy to throw me into different things, and that's like another thing too. It's like the more versatile you are, they're gonna keep giving you more opportunities, and you keep making yourself available. Like that's also one of the biggest skills or things. I guess not skills is the word, but like values you can do in this industry is just being available. That's definitely a thing I've learned. So you say yes to things, like they trust you more, they give you more things to do, you keep growing in that sense. So yeah, like I said, I just don't think they need to worry about me too much, and that's why they keep giving me more things to do.
You mentioned earlier, going hand in hand with the availability, that I didn't take my dinner break to get more time to interview players on the field at Fenway Park. Why is it so important early on in a job to go above and beyond to establish your presence in terms of someone that they can count on to do whatever they ask?
Yeah, because that's what you are. You're still on the bottom barrel. Like you're still new to this industry at the end of the day. I'm still new to this industry, and no one knows your name yet. No one, you know, you have to look at it that way. Like no one knows who you are. So I guess, have to prove to people. I mean, I don't like to look at it that way. I don't really like to look at like I'm proving to people. Like I got enough self-motivation, I feel like, that I'm proving to myself. But yeah, like I understand the scenario I'm in. I'm like, I've been able to do a lot of cool stuff, but I'm not nowhere near where I want to be in this industry. Like, you know, and then I want to build my name eventually in this industry, like have that reputation. So that's why I feel like, especially with something like NESN, like I'm definitely going to give up my dinner break to do this, because this is like a golden opportunity. Like, why I'm at Fenway Park in person, I get to be around the players. Like, this is what I dreamed to do. Like, it's a pretty easy decision for me to give up like the dinner break, because like this is my chance to get myself known. So and then that's why I said, like, example with the Zoom things, like, and I know that's worked too, like how I've asked questions, because I've had media people that I looked up to come up to me at these, like at Fenway or TD Garden, like introduce themselves to me, which I'm thinking in my head, like, I've been reading your stuff for a while, like I know who you are, and like tell me that like, they like how I ask my questions and stuff like that, and like they just like how I present myself. And I was like, dang, that's so cool. But like, you got to do that stuff now. So I don't really have much more of an answer than like, because you are on the bottom at the end of the day in this industry, and like it's always you having to go the extra mile. Like you just can't, like I kind of said in my earlier point, you just can't wait for things to happen. Like maybe things don't happen right away, but if you're not being proactive, like why you can't really expect for like stuff to happen for you, you know, at least from my opinion. So that's kind of how I look at it.
That's great advice. And I respected you a lot when you graduated. You always have wanted to be on air, and you've continued to do on air stuff, but you had the courage to take a job behind the scenes to get great experience at a great company. with still that goal in the back of your mind that, well, I'm going to learn as much as I can, but at some point I still want to chase the on-air dream as well. What advice would you give to our graduates who may be in the same boat as you, someone who wants to be on air, but there's an opportunity for them to get into the business and learn that's not on air, and they can take advantage of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, just when you graduate in general at first, like, I think when you're looking for that first job, you got to decide like what's important for you. Like, is it to just be on air? Because then, yeah, go to, okay, Chris Burns, I'm gonna throw you on the bus, but just like Brainerd, Minnesota. I mean, Chris joke about it all the time, so it's not a big deal. But like, you can go the super local route. You could, if that's really important for you, just to be on camera right away. Maybe it's for you to be in a higher, company that's covering like the top tier sports, like and MLB, NBA, NFL. Like maybe that requires you taking a behind the scenes job. Like, is that important to you? Is it being near where you grew up? Like that's important to some people too. So you just have to figure out what's important to you first of all, and then pursue the direction you want to go from there. But I also just you have to be honest with yourself too. Like I feel like I've done a lot of work like over the years, and like I felt I can do this in the Boston area, like a market like Boston, and I still feel that way. So that's why I also feel like let me just see what opportunities I can create for myself. Not saying it's necessarily going to work out here in Boston, but I was confident enough that if I get the chances, then I will do well in whatever opportunities I get. So that's why I was confident to go take a behind the scenes job at a higher tier place like a NESN, but that's still small enough where I could create these opportunities for myself and just see what happens. So, and that's kind of still the situation now. Like I'm just working as much as I can and doing stuff on the side and staying ready. And then when opportunities present themselves, like hopefully the moment's not too big for you and you're ready to go and you kill it and keep getting more opportunities. So, I mean, that's kind of how you got to look at it. But you got to be honest with yourself. Like, if you haven't put in enough work, like, maybe this isn't probably the best path for you to go. Like, to take a behind the scenes job at like a NESN or like try to pursue the on air stuff. But like we said, I've been doing it since like ninth grade. Felt pretty good when I came out of Full Sail. I felt like I was leaving Full Sail on like a high note too. And then, learned a lot of stuff out after Full Sail, just about like how life works and like the industry and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of just like the direction I took. But yeah, it is really subjective at the end of the day, and there is no like clear path. That's everyone's got their own unique path, and there's a lot of directions now for this industry. I'm also a big believer in like personal branding is like a big deal of how you get opportunities in this industry too. And then obviously the digital space changes everything, that you can put yourself on camera. You don't need just these days, like just a local television station to get yourself on camera. Like YouTube has changed everything. TikTok has changed everything. Obviously, even Instagram and Twitter in that sense. So I just think there's other avenues now too that maybe local TV isn't the only route, but it definitely is a route. It's just definitely not the only one, I think, anymore.
And that's one reason we love to use you as an example, Tyler, because much like you said, you were proactive. You created your brand. You created all of these different things that you do. And you're right. At some point, the local news way of doing things is in a lot of ways going to be a thing of the past if it isn't already. It's all about content creation. It's all about mobile now. It's all about all of these things. And I have enjoyed seeing what you've done with these celebrity interviews. I remember having conversations with you. You're like, yeah, you probably don't know who any of these people are, but they're a huge deal. They're big on TikTok. They're big here and there. What has that experience been like for you working with these celebrities and managing some of their content?
Wow, that's a very unique experience because yeah, it was like all sports for the longest time, but that is a whole different world, the TikTok world and social media creators. First interviewing them too, because like you go from interviewing like these athletes to like interviewing these like 18-year-old kids. I'm like, try to figure out how to talk to them. Even some of them like younger, which so it's like definitely a different dynamic how you speak with them. But yeah, just I learned a lot about how important like catering, creating content that caters to their audiences. One thing I learned how important in the social media space was like fan pages. which is like that's not like a real sports thing, but like in social media world, like fan pages are a big deal for these like creators. And like I always remember when I was working for these creators and trying to think of content, I was always trying to think of like clips that I knew would get cut up by these fan pages and be like call like the video equivalent of like a soundbite in like traditional TV, but like that moment, those like viral moments that like these fan pages remember from that video. So like that's kind of I always remember game planning in my head, like try to get those like viral moments, I guess, in a sense. Because I know these fan pages would eat that up and then they make the fan edits and all that stuff. So that was a big thing. Learn how much money was in the social media space too. That was insane to learn too. There's a lot of money, brand deals. Working with brands, that's a big thing. I mean, that's obviously happens in sports TV too, but you know, these creators really rely on brand deals a lot. And even for them, they make their own products a lot too, owning their own stuff, you know, putting their name on different products. That's another big thing too in that space. So yeah, it's just so many different things in the social media space. It's a whole different world, but yeah, it's just all centered around content. And it's like you're like a freelance person in the sense too, like you're only as good as your like last content. And you know, you don't have that necessary stability either for a lot of these kids. I mean, a lot of these kids are doing well, but like, you know, you just got to keep producing. You just got to keep producing. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing, consistency in the social media space. And yeah, just trying to figure out stuff that caters to their audiences. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was a really unique experience to say the least. So I enjoyed it a lot. I honestly did. And I could have seen like me doing that like full time if some of the kids I was working with really wanted to take that next step. They were at that level where, you know, they were normal high school kids at first, but they were really reaching a level where like they could be, if they wanted to pursue it full time, they could and start a content team. And I definitely could have seen myself doing that too, helping in that sense if like the NESN gig didn't open up and they had a different approach. But yeah, so I just learned a lot from doing that. And it was nice to just challenge myself in that space too, because it wasn't sports and it wasn't something I was comfortable in. And I just had to adapt to their world in a sense.
That's often where the best things come, when you're able to get outside of your comfort zone. And you just said that you're as good as your most recent content. Your most recent content was as the new co-host of Dirty Water TV. So what was day one on the job like there?
Day one on the job was, well, I'll just get the backstory for that too. So I got a text from them like yesterday morning at like 8 a.m. asking if I could do the show that night. And then said yes. Luckily able to rearrange things with NESN to make it happen. But yeah, then that day, you know, you get your script sent to you, which is nice. And I was like, this is actually kind of nice too, because I'm like, people are giving me stuff. Like I'm usually the one that has to make something for someone. So like they're sending me the script, they're sending me the TV format, and then just like preparing for the day. Like we're shooting at this like this old famous Irish pub in Boston. So I kind of just do some research about that pub and try to look for my lines for the night and just try to get myself in like a good state of mind. You know, I work out beforehand to just like feel good going into the day. I actually even like turn on like music in my apartment just to get myself like singing and talking, because like I want to, you know, it's easy if you're just like in your apartment by yourself all day to not talk. So like I want to get myself like going, good energy, and then like I always do my vocal exercises that I learned from you guys beforehand. So just like all that prep work or like preparation for yourself to before you even go to the shoot. And then yeah, you get to the shoot. Luckily had a co-host that she's been with the show for a little while, so she's kind of giving me the lay of the land, and have the videographer there. And yeah, just it's pretty simple, just doing some on camera opens and VOs, some teases, some promos afterwards. Pretty straightforward. I did learn that I didn't need to be so like script focused either. Like I could ad lib a lot of the stuff. So that's which I'm glad that's the case. So I know next time I'll feel a lot better, because that's kind of like my brain works anyways. Like just give me some like bullet points of whatever topic I need to hit, like, and then, you know, I'll go from there. As far as speaking, if I'm like scripted, it doesn't always turn out the best. But
what's the concept of the show for those that don't know?
Yeah, it's like a Boston lifestyle show. So we go around different restaurants and bars and like pop-up events and venues in Boston. So things like that. And then talk with, you know, there are like, we'll go to like different athletes events. Like Paul Pierce had an event recently in Boston, so I know they went and covered that. and one of the talents interviewed Paul there, and James White had an event I think recently, so same thing type of deal. So we do get to deal with some athletes, but it's mainly just going to the popular places around Boston, and you're mingling with the crowd. You're like yesterday's shoot, you're in the bar with all the people, eating and sitting at the bar around you. So you're like in the crowd with the people doing the show, which is cool.
Wow.
And I have like an adrenaline rush from that, and an atmosphere, to work off of. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So that's kind of
awesome.
The setup of how it works.
Great. Well, we got to talk. You're already living a new dream that just started with that. But what's the next dream you're chasing, Tyler? What should we expect to see from you coming up for years to come?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. It's just like, trying to make this like a reporter thing, full-time on-air host / reporter. Definitely, I love what I did yesterday. That was just so much fun. So something along those lines, like, if that could be my full-time thing, that would be like ideal, somewhere. And I just always, for me, my bucket lists are always like events I want to do, or like maybe people I want to interview. Like, that's kind of how I look at it. I never have like a lot of people's dreams are like, I want to be at ESPN. I never really had companies as like my goals or necessarily. It's just like, I want to cover the Super Bowl. So I want to be like Taylor one day. I want to go like for real one day as like a reporter, and stuff like that, NBA Finals, World Series, and then talk with the best of the best. Like, I want to interview LeBron one day, Mike Trout. That would be great. Like, so that's kind of my bucket list, and just keep doing it and build that reputation within the industry. And that's kind of how I look at it. So yeah, just be able to do this like reporting thing full time would be like my goal. And hopefully I think I can do it in a market like Boston, and hopefully it does work out in that sense. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm aiming at right now. So just any opportunities along those lines is what I'm pursuing.
Well, you've proven that you don't need someone else to help you reach these goals. You're doing it on your own. So yeah, it might be under the umbrella of a company. It might not. We'll see. That's what's exciting. You're a young guy. You got a long way ahead of you. And you kind of led us into our final segment, which is the bonus segment. It's fast paced. It's quick. It's celebrity, or more dream focused than celebrity focused. Okay. But you kind of already threw a couple names out there, but I'm going to ask you anyway. It's 7 questions. Who is your dream celebrity interview?
To give you a different one than the other two I just said, Tom Brady. Tom Brady is definitely on the bucket list. So I feel like he's going to come back to New England now that he's retired. Do some appearances. They'll probably retire his number even next year, just so quickly. They'll get the statue too. So I feel like I'll see him around. He's obviously got a store here, his TB12 store in Newberry Street, which is not too far from where I live. So I think that one's doable to get Tom Brady one day. So yeah, that's a big one.
That's a good one, especially if you can get him after a boat parade. That would be even better.
Yeah. Dream. I'll have him on dirty water. There you go.
There you go. Perfect. Dream Red Sox road trip. And what I mean by that is you're going on the road with a team to any city. Where are you going?
Go to, I guess, the Yankee Stadium. I guess they say Yankee Stadium, even though like the new Yankee Stadium, I know is not the same as the old Yankee Stadium, but just the rivalry. I guess you got to go with that. I mean, it'd be cool. Oh, actually, I changed my answer. I changed it. The Red Sox are supposed to go to Wrigley on July 4th this year. So wow. that one is going to be, I can imagine the atmosphere being crazy for that. So that's actually the real answer, to go to, then they don't obviously go there that often. So Red Sox at Wrigley, that would be pretty sick to see. And July 4th weekend too. That's crazy.
Who knows? You may actually do that. You're in the right company to make that happen. So we'll see. All right. Dream dinner table. You have to have 4 guests. Go. Who are the 4?
Oh man.
Remember, this is rapid fire, so don't spend too much time.
Okay. 4 people. Tom Holland from Spider-Man. I love him. Think he's really charismatic. Ooh, I need some funny people. Kevin Hart's pretty funny, so I go with Kevin Hart. Wow, you put me on the spot. Dustin Pedroia, even though he's not the funniest dude, but he's like my dream, like whatever athlete. He's one I still want to meet. So him. Wow, that's put me on the spot. I'll just put another comedian. I like this. He's kind of an underrated comedian, but his name's Sam Morrell. He is pretty popular, but like not like a Kevin Hart level. But he's really funny. I like his stuff. So he's on the table. We're gonna have a good time. A lot of laughs.
All right, sounds good. You're working with a lot of equipment right now, but what you haven't worked with, dream equipment to work with professionally.
I mean, I like those like 4K cameras seem pretty cool. So one of those would be cool.
Awesome. We'll get that in your budget for next month.
Yeah,
for
seriously.
NESN, right? Dream TV or film project to be a part of. Now, a little background: Tyler has been in some TV shows as an extra and a background actor. What TV or film project would you like to be in?
Like an Avengers movie. I want like a set that has like just like a fantasy world, like a very fiction world where the set and the background could be really sick. Even though like I know a lot of that's like on a sound stage with like the blue green screen, blue walls and the green screen and stuff. But yeah, an Avengers like Marvel project would be ideal.
Awesome. Dream birthday celebration. What are you doing for your birthday this year, Tyler?
I don't know for this birthday, but a dream one probably just like all my closest buddies go to Vegas or something. That would be the dream if money and time and availability wasn't an object. But yeah, that's the dream.
Just don't go with Zach Galifianakis. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No hangover over here. No
all right.
Hangover,
final one. Dream mentorship opportunity. I know you've done a lot to help our former students and current students. What would be a dream opportunity for you to mentor?
For me to mentor or for someone to mentor?
For you to mentor anyone, anywhere, anyhow. How would you like to do it?
How would I mentor someone?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, just kind of you're just kind of available to answer any questions. Like, I mean, that's what I try to do now with like a lot of the students. I feel like, you know, a good amount of students, whether in the program or about to join Full Sail or even just, you know, thinking about Full Sail, have reached out to me, and I just do my best to always answer and give like in-depth answers, and just I always respond and I make an effort to do that. So like just always being available to help out any way you can, answer questions, like, and especially I think right now is a good time for someone like me too, that it's like, yeah, I've done some stuff in the industry, but I'm really not that far removed from the program too. So like any student in the program could literally be doing like what I'm doing in like a couple of years, or like what Taylor's doing, or whoever else you think is doing cool stuff in the industry. So it's like, yeah, just always being available to help out. Yeah.
And anyone who wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
You can email me at tboronski10@gmail.com. So TBORONSKI, the number 10@gmail.com, or you could DM me on like Instagram or Twitter at Tyler Boronski. But yeah, do the email if you can.
Great. All right. We're going to do it in under an hour, Tyler. I'm impressed.
I tried.
Any final advice before we wrap?
Yeah, I mean, just if you're in the program now, just make the most of those 20 months because they really like fly by, and definitely taking the fact that you get like great feedback and detailed feedback from like people like Rishi and all the other instructors there, because that's one thing when you're in the industry now, you don't really get like day-to-day feedback, really like much feedback at all. You kind of just, you know, you do your work and show up and do it again. But like it's like awesome. Like I always remember Rishi's, and Rishi would do like video you know, reviews too, which is like super rare. So it's just like you soak that all in, take advantage of that, because like it's a special time. This is your like 20 months to work on your craft and learn the industry and just make the most of it. It's the most fun time too. It's such a great environment, like I talk about all the time, but it's literally like the best 20 months of my life. Like it's the most fun I've had, seriously. And I've done some fun stuff now, but like just that time was so special at Full Sail. Like you have a great community there, like everyone there is kind of like inspirational too, because so many people are pursuing their dreams, whether just in the sportscasting program or like, you know, in Full Sail in general. People obviously they're pursuing different parts of the entertainment industry they want to be a part of. So yeah, just like really just soak in the time as much as you can.
Well, I've soaked in this time, Tyler. It's been fun catching up and listening to your stories and everything that you're doing. I would like to thank Tyler Boronski for joining us today, finding time in his crazy busy schedule to be here. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Livin The Dream podcast. We can't wait to see you next time with another special guest right from Full Sail. So until then, keep on living the dream.
Peace.